Hey Garage Golfers, Roland here with Garage Golf. I'm here with Gilbert and Olivia. Say what's up, guys.
Hey,
Hello.
how y'all doing?
We're here in the Garage Golf Studios, and as you can tell, we have a lot of boxes here in front of us. We're going to be unboxing for you guys today. We're doing the actual Sportscreen Golf Studio Series. This is going to be the Parlour 16H that we're going to be putting together for you guys here in our large bay behind us. So what we're going to do is a quick unboxing. We're going to take all this stuff out of the boxes for you guys, and we're actually going to do a installation video for you, which we'll be putting this together step by step, walking you through the entire install, and then we'll be doing a series of videos throughout the entire testing of this. We'll be actually testing out this entire product, giving you an idea on if it's a good fit, and giving you a better idea as to how it holds up with durability, testing, and everything. And as you know, we have several different products here, so we're looking forward to testing that out. But first, we want to show you how do we put this together step by step, like we've done on a couple other products here on the channel. So we're looking forward to bringing that to you. We'll do a quick unboxing. We'll do a quick time lapse of that. We'll bring you back, and then we'll go step by step through the installation process. And that's coming at you right now. So as you see, we unboxed everything, got everything out of the boxes, and pretty much no real surprises other than what, one bag exploded and all the parts. So if you guys are unboxing anything like this at home, one of the little bags of parts kind of exploded, I guess in transport. So they had a lot of like oil and grease. I guess you need to have that kind of lubricated to get it all attached together. So we kind of cleaned that up a bit. I had to put that in a separate bag and just kind of cleaned that up, but nothing really was damaged or anything like that. So we got everything ready to go as we showed you in the video, and we're going to start the process. Grab that manual for me real quick, please. We got a manual that Sportscreen provides, and I believe Gilbert actually showed me, you're going to see little QR codes on each page of the manual, which is actually pretty cool. So if you were to scan the QR code, it will actually take you to a step-by-step video as well that you can use to walk you through each step in the manual. We'll be using that, but you can also follow this video step-by-step as well as we put this thing together. Now we're doing this for the very, very first time, so we're going to probably make some mistakes as we go through this process, which is fine. We like to do this pretty much from your perspective at home. So bear with us with any mistakes. We'll walk you through it though step by step. Make sure that we walk you through every single component that we put together for you guys. Let's get started. All right, and real quickly, just so you know what we're putting together today, this is actually the Parlour 16H, which is the largest one that they make at Sportscreen. And this is going to give us a 16:9 aspect ratio. My space here is about 17 feet wide from wall to wall. And what this actually will require is going to be about 9.5 feet of height, 114 inches. So for a room to accomplish the space that you would need, or to basically accommodate this, we're going to need a room that has 120 inches minimum of height. And we need a room that has 17 feet or 204 inches minimum of room width. So this should work just fine in this space. Might be a little bit tight. Obviously you see we have a setup behind us. I'm gonna try to not have to take anything down, but this is gonna be something that we're gonna test out as we go today. And so as far as the projector setup, everything, this is gonna give us 183 by 102 inches for a projectable screen area altogether. And then as far as the total room length, also need about 17 feet, which is gonna give us 204 inches of minimum room length. And the side walls, that comes out 5 feet, and behind the screen, all you need behind the screen, actually with the Parlour series, is 6 inches. You don't need the full foot, which is actually a pretty nice feature. So I just wanted to give you an idea on what we're actually putting together today and what kind of dimensions you're going to need for this actual enclosure. And now for additional tools, we're already starting to put this thing together, obviously, but for additional tools, what the manual will say, you're going to get an Allen wrench, which you can use. Obviously, you have an easier Allen wrench tool. It's probably going to be a little bit easier for you at home. You're going to need 2 ladders, so it's definitely important that you have 2 separate ladders, because at some point you're going to need to get on top of this thing to basically put this together. You're going to need a tape measure, so make sure you have one of those. And you're going to need a drill or a screwdriver, obviously. And they do recommend probably an electric screwdriver or obviously a cordless drill in that situation. So we're gonna grab that stuff so we can start getting this all put together for you. All right, so we're on step one right now, and step one is gonna be to assemble the vertical poles. And so what I wanna show you is all the different parts that are gonna be needed for that. You have the hex key here that it came with two parts. One is this piece here. What is that called? The 5mm Allen key, and then this is actually the 5mm Allen key, and this is the part that will go into your drill, and this will snap right in here. And this is what we're gonna use later on in the steps here. All right, and then we're gonna need to have half round nuts. This came in a bag. This is part of all the stuff that exploded into the box, so I had to find these. These are what they look like. Let's see if we can show that up close. They have a little flange to them here on the edge. And so we're gonna use 32 of these for this step that I'll walk you through here shortly. And then we're gonna use 32 of these as well. These are called the M8 button head screws. These are the cap screws. As you can tell, they're very dirty, so make sure you don't touch the screen after touching these. And these are the black screws. They have some kind of oil or something on them. So you gotta be really careful not to touch anything after you touch these screws. And we're gonna use angle joiners. Where are the angle joiners? Let me show those real quick. These are the angle joiners, and what we're gonna do is basically attach those to these aluminum frames. Olivia, show them the aluminum frames on the floor. That's an angle joiner that's going to attach there, as you see. And so I'm gonna walk you through this step by step. So Olivia will try to show you as best as we can on camera as we go through these steps and basically show you how we take this step by step through this process. But we're basically going to use one of these angle joiners and 8 screws essentially on each side, and we're gonna attach these together so we can basically create this first part of these vertical frames that are going to attach to each other, essentially with a step. Okay, so you see I have 2 of these half round nuts already in here. I'm gonna show you how to slide them in here. You see this little flange here that sticks out on the back. What you wanna do is you wanna push them down, and I did it the wrong way the first time, and Gilbert showed me how to do it, but this is why I say we learn as we go here. There's a little piece, you push it down, and you're gonna basically have it face down, and you're gonna slide it into the rail this way. So you're gonna use your finger to kind of hold it in and give it a little pressure, slide it into the rail and hold down the back one so it allows it to slide into the rail. And then you hold it kind of scratching a little bit, but it's gonna get in there. And it'll allow you to kind of slide that little piece in there, essentially. And that'll give you the room to kind of push it in. And so I'm gonna do the same thing with the second one. You gotta get the first one in, the second one, and that will allow me to slide them in there. So once they're in there, you can kind of easily maneuver them. And I think what those little flanges do is allows it to raise up to the height where you would need to screw it in. And then we essentially got it in there then in that situation. And so this is how we get the half round nuts to slide in there. So I'm gonna do this on all of them. Now what I need to do now is, as you'll notice, if I flip it over, see how I have these the wrong way, how it was sticking out past the ledge? This is how I did it the wrong way the first time. I'm gonna show you again, just so I can show you how to do it. You push it down, give it enough pressure, so you can hold it down with your finger, just like this, and we're gonna slide it into the rail. And that's how you get them in there. So you're gonna slide it in, and do it one more time. Hold it down, give it pressure, slide it into the rail, and we got them in there. So I'm gonna do this for the other 2, and then I will bring you back and we'll show you how to attach the angle joiner to both of these, and we'll get the screws in there, and this is how we're gonna attach these 2 poles together. All right, so we have all of the half round nuts in, and we're gonna now attach the angle joiner. And so as you see, I'm gonna flip this over, and they're all lined up. I'm gonna try to line them up as best I could beforehand. But what we're gonna do now is attach these 2 together using the angle joiner, and I tried to line up the holes as best as I could. And we're gonna use the M8 screws here, and we're basically just going to hand tighten them for now. And again, these screws are filthy, but I'm just gonna hand tighten them. Try not to touch too much stuff after this. And again, you're gonna use probably just an Allen key for this. I have one on a drill. You don't wanna use a real tight setting if you use a drill. Probably better just to use a normal Allen wrench, but whatever you prefer. Just don't do anything on a real high setting because you don't wanna strip anything. So this is how we're gonna attach these. But for right now, I'm just doing this by hand. Make sure you wash your hands immediately after this so you don't touch anything else, but these black screws are really dirty. All right, and so now I have that set up. I'm gonna do the other 4 on this side essentially, and then we basically will have this set up. I need to just get this aligned up with these 4 holes, and I will bring you back. And Gilbert's doing the same thing on the other side. We're going to attach these 2, and we will have both of the vertical poles set up and ready to go. All right, and then as far as tightening, I did use a drill, but you want to put it on the screwdriver setting. Make sure it's not on drill setting. So when you tighten it, you use an Allen wrench tool like this one. You see, it's not going to strip. It's just going to stop the drill itself. So that's as tight as it goes. And you can go back and try to hand tighten it, but look, as you'll notice, it's pretty much tight now. So we have it now all put together, and here it is on both sides, joined, and we're ready to roll with the next step. And Gilbert did it on the other side. You want to show them over there? So we have these 2 ready to go. We're done with the first step of this entire process. Okay, step 1, part 2, 2 more frames, because we only did 2. So now we need to do 2 more. All right, so we're on to step 2 now. And as you can see, we now have the 2 vertical frames on either side of me here on the floor. And so now what we're going to do is basically establish or put together and create the uprights and establish the frames that are going to be on the sides. And so we're going to be attaching the side beam and the side beam with Velcro. I believe the side beam with the Velcro is the one that's going to go on the bottom, and the side beam is the one that's going to go on the top. We're going to attach it with these gussets, and in this case we're actually going to be using what I misspoke earlier and said, is that's this tool here. This is actually the 13 millimeter, oh, you grab that 13 millimeter deep socket, and this is actually the 1/2 inch driver bit that comes in the box. So you're going to use these together and use that with your drill, and this is going to be a part of what we're going to use throughout this process. So on every part of this video now, I will put the part description here on the video somewhere on either side of me so you can see it. And again, don't forget, you're going to have the QR code that you can actually watch the video. Now the videos, at least on mine, I wasn't able to have it play any audio. Maybe it's just not working for me, but I prefer a little bit of audio so I can walk you through this. I'm going to try to walk you through this as best as I can here, and we're going to go through it. But we're going to attach all that using these gussets. There's going to be 8 gussets all together, and we're going to use the T-bolts. We're also going to use the flange nuts to attach these vertical frames here essentially to the side beams that we'll be using for this step. So let's walk you through that step now. All right, so as you can see, we have the vertical frame attached down to the bottom bar here, and we had a couple of issues with doing this. I'm going to try to walk you through that on the next step. But there's a couple things I wanted to show you. Number one, when you have this set up, this is going to be the way that it goes. You want the Velcro to be facing towards the other portion of the frame. So this is how the outer frame is going to be. And where you have the vertical poles, you want to make sure you have the smooth side here. And so you are not going to see any of the screws. That's going to be facing towards the golfer. And in regards to the Velcro part, there's actually a little strap here, down here, and this is going to go towards the rear of the enclosure. So I want to make sure that you have that. That's indicated kind of more in the later part of the actual manual. So make sure that you check that part out, but it's going to actually be probably step 4 or 5 where it tells you that. So we weren't really sure which way it should face, and we put it towards the rear, and that's exactly where it needs to be. So just so you have an idea. Now, the manual doesn't really go into too much detail on how to do this. We had some issues with the T-nuts kind of falling out in regards to how this would work, and I want to kind of show you on the camera, but here's how it slides in the channel up and down, and this is vertically here. So you don't want to be able to tighten it too much where it would come out, essentially. So what you want to do is you want to rotate it once it's in there, and so when you pull on it, it gets stuck in this track. So what they mean, there's a picture in the manual where it talks to you about you're not seeing too much of the thread where it sticks out past the locking nut or the washer, essentially, the nut that goes in there. And so that's because if you were to have it where it comes out too far, that means that it's actually probably vertical in this groove track here, which means that you would actually be able to pull it and it would slide right out of that track. So what you want is essentially, you don't want it this way, you want the nut to go this way. And so that way when you have the tension, you can pull on it, tighten it as you need to tighten it, and it won't pull out of this track. So we had some difficulty with how to accomplish that because the nut was wanting to slide in there and kind of move around on us, and there's no way to reach your hand in there or hold it in any way. So we kind of had to come up with our own way of doing that, and so we're going to try to show you as best as we can, but we found it easier. We were trying to do it where it was standing up like this. You have to kind of use some leverage, so it was easier for it to be set on the ground, and then basically kind of preload it a little bit, which Gilbert said, and we kind of use a nut to lock in a couple of them up front, slide it in the track, and then tighten the others from there, essentially. But we'll show you as best we can on camera, and we'll finish up the other 3 of these and then walk you through that process from here. All right, so here's Gilbert's solution to kind of part of the problem that we were having with the T-nuts though. And as far as one other thing we noticed though that make it a little easier for you guys at home is that there is a Phillips head on the actual T-nut. And if you notice it, it faces the direction of the T-nut. So if you look, there's a little thread there. And if you show the bigger picture, it obviously is facing the direction of the T-nut. So if it's in the track, for example, this way, you know that the T-nut is this way. And if you were to turn it this way now you know that the T-nut's facing the right angle, which is basically going to be perpendicular to the track. So when you have the washer on, makes it a lot easier to know, because here I can see it obviously, but when you have the washer on, you can't see it. And so now I know that that T-nut is now perpendicular with that track rail. So that makes it super, super easy, a lot easier. And I didn't see that anywhere in the manual. I don't know if anybody else saw it, but I didn't see it. And so this makes it a lot easier. So now if I know that basically this Phillips thread is this way, I would pull and it comes straight out. If it's this way, I pull and I have that friction. So just a little tip for you guys at home. Gilbert, show us a little bit about what you did to make this part a little bit easier.
So what I ended up doing is I already pretty much preset the screw and the nut already in there. And then on the bottom right here, I already have the T-nut set up to go in there correctly so we don't have to spin it. So what you can do is set this here right on the track, and then that T-nut will slide right in there where it's supposed to go. You don't have to make any turns while it's in there. Just have it preset to where it needs to go. And this one is spinning on me a little bit.
But now you know by looking at that.
Yeah, now I know by looking at top, and I can be able to make sure that it's set in there correctly. And now it's already set. So everything's already good. I can go up top and look at the top and make sure that these are correctly in there. And then you can just give it also a pull and see if it's already comes out. So
even though this goes against what the manual says to do, we found it a lot easier if we actually tighten this now in this spot. And so Gilbert's going to tighten this part down. And we found it a lot easier to attach the other frame to it. Their manual and their video doesn't show this part. And so we're just going to tighten this part down snugly. We'll come back later and do it by hand. But we found it a lot easier to then attach the other basically frame to it. And so that part's in place now for us. And so what we're going to do at this point is he's going to, what we would call preload the other set of T-nuts to this and make it a lot easier for us to then just slide the other frame right onto it, essentially at that point. And so we tried this 100 different ways, and we just honestly found this to be the easiest way. And everything came out just fine. Everything lined up perfectly for us. Wasn't on the first try by any means, but this was just the easiest way for us to kind of figure it out. And he sets it up horizontally like that because if you guide it the right way, you could actually slide the track right onto the T-nut that way too. It's going to take a little bit of maneuvering, and having probably 1 or 2 people help you. But you also notice this little piece here, and the rail will actually slide right into that metal piece. So that's what we're looking to do. So we're going to line the rail up with it, and Gilbert will guide it kind of by hand, and I'll help him a little bit here. And since this is the smaller pole, it makes it a little easier that way. When I lean it forward a little bit, it helps with lining up those nuts. And so this will take a little trial and error. Of course, it's not a perfect try every time, but we got it in. And so now that pole is lined up at that 90-degree angle that we want. And he's just going to tighten it and get it snug in there. And we pretty much have it set up. Let me have the camera to be real quick. So we come around this other way here. Let me show you guys on camera. You see these nuts, and you see how they're basically not coming out too far past that locking nut essentially. And we can get a really good idea here as far as those, essentially where those Phillips head threads are. You can see how they're perpendicular to that channel, which means that they're lined up where that nut will not slide out of that channel now. And so that shows you basically that these are installed the right way. And all we do now is we go back by hand, and Gilbert's just going to go by hand now. And we tried using, when it gets all tight in here, it's easier to use just a hand wrench to kind of tighten everything. And so this is a 13 millimeter hand wrench that we're just tightening everything with. and it makes it super easy. So we're gonna do the last one here in the setup and basically put everything together, and we'll have both of the vertical frames set up and ready to go. All right, and so now we're attaching the top part of the side frames. And this is again why I feel like Gilbert's method of preloading this is the best way to do this. And so all we're gonna do is basically slide this right into the rail. And it makes it super easy to do, I feel. You just wanna line that up, slide that in. You can see it. And we're just gonna line that right up to the edge, right there. And that's pretty much it. So that's how we did this whole part. And get the little drill that they gave us. Now, for those of you doing this at home, there's pieces in the corner like this where this drill, slide that back in. I can't get this drill in here. So I can do it on this one. It'll tighten here. Just tighten that snug. Now for the other one, because it wants to move on me still, I found it using the Phillips screwdriver and just holding it in place, getting the 13mm wrench, and I'll just tighten that by hand now until it gets tight. Hard to kind of get in there at the angle. That's where it just stays into place. There, it's nice and snug now. And then I just tighten it by hand as much as I can. And now we got the frames, both side frames assembled, and we're ready to move on to the next step. But as you see, kind of preloading it the way Gilbert mentioned, versus doing it and trying to slide it in without it already being secured, this just makes it 100 times easier in my opinion. So I'm glad this is something that we kind of figured out, but once we got that part figured out, we kind of breezed through the side frames a lot easier in this step. Okay, so we're on step 3 now, which is attaching the cross beams. We have 2 of the orange cross beams and 1 of the green cross beams. We've already put one together just so we could learn how to do this the right way and show you on camera. And so now we're gonna show you, we have the 2, got 1 orange one and 1 orange one and a green one over here. So we're gonna put those together. We're gonna lay them on the floor. Since this is the 16H, this is quite a large crossbeam. It's gonna run along the entire floor here. We're gonna put it together. We're gonna be using the angle joiners. There's gonna be 2 of them per each crossbeam that we attach together. So that we're gonna be using 4 of them total on this step here. And then we're gonna be using the half round nuts and the same M8 screws to attach everything together. And so once we have this part done, then we're basically going to be attaching these cross beams to those vertical poles that we had essentially to get the entire frame up and put together. So let's show you on camera how to attach these cross beams together. Pretty easy process overall, but you do have to align up the holes and everything with the angle joiners to make sure you get everything lined up. So we'll just have to show you on camera how we do that. Pretty quick process, but we'll get that part taken care of and move on to the next step. All right, so Gilbert's basically attaching these half round nuts in here, and we're gonna put 2 on each side that we're gonna slide right in there. And this is going to be how we're going to attach these 2 cross beams to each other. And so once we got the 2 on each side, we'll later align these up to where they'll need to be so we can join them together. And so now once you have the 2 on each side, you're also gonna need to put 2 along the outer edges. And so he's gonna flip one like we just saw, and he's gonna align 2 here in a very similar spot as where we aligned the other 2, and you're gonna have to eyeball this later. All right, then we're gonna flip it all the way back on the other side. And he's gonna align those up too. And again, since we're here, it's on the ground essentially, you can kind of eyeball sort of where they're all at. And then when we put the angle joiner down later, we're gonna line them up to all of them at one time. And so we did that on this one. We're gonna do the same one now on the middle one, which is the green one. And then we're gonna basically connect them together using the angle joiner and the M8 screws. So we'll bring you right back once we have that part done. and show you how we're going to connect them all together. All right, so Gilbert got all of the half round nuts in now, and so basically what we're doing is lining up the angle joiner to match up with the half round nuts to make sure that the holes line up. And so we're doing it along the top edge here, and we're going to flip it over and also make sure that they line up with the half round nuts on the flat part here. And it looks like most of them have lined up pretty good. Everything look good there, Gil?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, so now we're gonna just try to get 1 or 2 screws in, and I'll help from this side. And we're gonna try to just lock them in by hand a little bit, just to make sure that they go in properly. So as long as you get 1 on each side, and they haven't really moved on us or slid on us, then we're pretty good to go. And so we'll tighten these by hand, and make sure that they're lined up. And once we got all the screws in, if we need the slide to angle joiner to center it between the two, we can do that as well, but we're not gonna have to move it very much. I wanna make sure that it's pretty much centered in between the 2 beams. And it's hard to do this left-handed on camera. Once you get that one. It's also easier if you flip it over. Let me see. There we go. Much easier. Now, do we want to keep this loose, or do we want to tie it on this side?
I think we keep it loose just so we can make sure that the other...
Okay. So now what we're doing is we're going to lay down the other angle joiner. And we got to do the same thing on the other side to line these up with the holes and make sure that everything lines up appropriately on both sides now. And again, it's kind of an eyeball process. You can still reach your finger in there. You want to do this obviously before you put any screws in, just to make sure that everything lines up appropriately. And it's a lot harder once you try to do this after the fact. If you have a little tool like a screwdriver, you can slide it in and move things over. And that helps a little bit with adjusting things as needed. But for the most part, you can make that work pretty easy with just your finger.
Okay.
Okay, line that up, straighten this beam out a little bit just to make sure everything's lined up the right way. Flip it back over now. All right, and the last step is we just tighten it with the drill, and we'll finish this up, and we'll bring you back here as soon as we're done. All right, so we got one done here, as you can see, and we have another beam that we need to connect right down there. And as you can tell, these are a long set of beams here, so we're gonna slide this down and work on it. We're gonna connect this one the same exact way, and we'll be back to work on the next step from there. All right, so Gilbert just finished up with these cross beams. As you can tell, they're quite long. We got this one done here. Goes all the way over there. So we're gonna have to figure out in our space here, say hi everyone, where we're gonna have room to put this whole thing together. This thing is massive. So just make sure when you align them, even though the holes lined up properly, the beams were crooked. So we had to go back and kind of eyeball them and make sure that the beams were straight. So make sure that even though the holes lined up, everything lined up fine, the actual beams were a little crooked. So we had to go back and kind of fix that a little bit. We loosened up the screws and then re-screwed them in, and everything lined up properly. And there's the other beam over here. So we got both of those cross beams done and ready to move on to that next step. All right, so the next part of this step is we're going to be attaching the cross beam gussets. This is going to be how we're going to attach these entire cross beams to the vertical frames that we've already installed. And so we're gonna put 2 of these on each side on the upper portion of these vertical frames that we have here. I've already done one down here at the floor, And so we'll show you exactly how we're going to install that. And basically this is going to be our support bracket for these cross beams that we're going to have laying here on the floor. So we'll put that together, and then we're going to figure out how we're going to set all this up that we have laying out here and get enough room to basically try to put this entire massive thing together. So here I am with my next step in this video, and this part kind of really baffles me as to why they would have you do this. And so Sportscreen, if you're watching, this is a very questionable part of the installation process that I don't really quite get with your setup. But I'm watching this and I was looking at your video on how to do this, but there is no guide to tell me where to put this bracket. And what you're looking at here is a bracket where those cross beams are going to go. And so I thought maybe you just slide it to where I have it there, essentially. And this is where the two cross beams are going to attach. But I watched your video, and no, that's not exactly where it needs to go. You need to have it lower, kind of like this one, in which these cross beams there are going to sit on top of this piece here that I have there. And it's going to equal the entire height to where it totals up at the end of that frame. Well, here's the problem. We've already put together the entire set of cross beams that you see here. So I have no way to know exactly where to put this bracket. It's not marked anywhere. There's no indicator as to where to put it that I can see. And there's no way to guide exactly where to put this piece. And it has to be the exact same height on all four of them. And so really the only way I can see how to do this properly is I'm going to have to go back to one of these beams and take it apart and then set it on these so I know exactly where to line it up so they're the right height. So if you're building this thing, this is the way I would have done it first, knowing this beforehand, and then basically then install everything together. So I feel like there's a step that maybe should be in front of that step we just did. So I know exactly where to put these brackets first. So I'm going to basically go back, take apart one of those cross beams, set it on here so I know exactly where the height should be, and then put these cross beams in the right place so then I can then go back and just attach everything together at the right height. So that's what we're going to do now. All right, so Gilbert has the cross beam here. As you can tell, we basically have it lined up right along the edge. This is how it's going to have to sit here. And this is what I mentioned to you, that we don't really know where the distance is. I could have measured just the outside, but we're not really going to the outside. We're going to the inside of the track. So I needed to know exactly where to place this. So I had to preload this bracket here and basically slide it into the track, which we're going to do now. And so we have it there. And then we're going to slide it all the way into the cross beam and have it fit in there. And then I can hand tighten it from there. So this is where this has to go. And we're gonna have to do this basically per bracket, our corner bracket here that we're looking at, just to know exactly where each one would go, because we wanna make sure that they're all the exact same height. And now Gilbert should be able to slide that out. And this is the height that it needs to go for each one. So I don't know why that wasn't a step before. I just feel like that should have been a step. So we know exactly either that or whatever beam we were attaching this to could have been marked somehow so we know exactly what height it was. It would have been just a little bit easier, process. But nothing major, but just something for you to follow at home if you're watching, so you know, and that way you don't miss a step there on your end. All right, so we got the 4 gussets lined up, and now we got to put the cross beam back together. All right, so we're now at the step where we're going to attach or try to attach these cross beams to these vertical frames. And so one thing I didn't see anything about in the book is preloading these vertical frames again with those T-bars. And so that way when we're supposed to somehow have these standing up vertically, pick them up, slide them onto those brackets, and then try to use those T-bars essentially, and then do everything all at one time while holding it up. I don't see how that's possible with something this size. So I'm going to preload these brackets on either side. And so that way when we pick it up, and again, you're going to need 2, maybe 3 people at home to help you with this process, I would assume. we're going to try to slide that frame right into those T-nuts, T-bars, T-nuts essentially. And then we can then tighten them by hand and then use our drill to then tighten the rest of the way. So that way it should be easier. So what we're going to do is, just like we preloaded them before, preload it through the hole. I'll show you on camera just so we have it ready and we can just then slide it right into the frame. So we'll show you here on camera what we're going to do. So essentially we're going to get a T-nut just like we did before. We're going to run it through and we're just going to put a bolt here. And so that way it's set and ready for us to just slide into that track on the other side, hopefully, and make that part as easy as possible. So this is going to slide right into the rail, obviously, like we're hoping, and make that part as easy as possible when we go to do this while we're trying to hold up these cross beams. So I'm going to do this now. It's not in the book that way, but I just think for what we've learned before, this is going to make this a little bit easier for us, hopefully, to do when we get to that part of the process. So we're going to do this on all 4 of these, and then we'll try to get these cross beams attached somehow. Had to make a couple modifications to our setup just to try to make room for this because this thing's massive. But I think we'll be able to make this work. And we just got to figure out how we're going to get this all put together and attached, and then we've got pretty much the hardest part of this behind us moving forward. Okay, so bear with us. I have an existing structure here I'm trying to utilize still at some point down the road, so we're not going to tear apart everything, but we're going to try to make this work with our existing setup here. And so it'll be a little hard to see on camera, but we're going to try to attach these cross beams to the frames that you see here. I have an existing kind of tarp that I'm going to be utilizing still, so we're going to be up there kind of tight and snug. I won't be able to get it all on camera for you, but we're basically sitting those cross beams into the vertical frames that we've talked about. And so we're going to struggle with this a bit. I'm sure it's going to take us quite a while to probably do, but we will be working on doing that, and we're going to be attaching them to those T-nuts like we've talked about, tightening them, and then creating that frame. So we're going to start with the back ones first. Now, the cross beams you want to make sure are the way that you'll see here. Now, the back one you want facing this way, where you're going to see those screws facing towards the ceiling and towards the inner part of the frame. And then the front one is going to be facing towards the ceiling and the inner part of the frame where they're facing towards each other. So that's what we're looking for. So we're going to pick it up exactly the way it is here, and we're going to set it on this back rail. And again, remember, in regards to the frames, the strap that we showed you is going towards the back part of the enclosure. All right? So let's try to work on that now. All right, so here's the corner piece that we just put on, and like you can tell, very tight quarters here. And there's Gilbert over there. Say hi, Gilbert. And so you can tell we're definitely working with tight quarters. And so you had to make sure that the frame was square. That was really important, to make sure that that frame was square at the bottom to get them to line up appropriately here. And so we just hand tightened it with slid in. As you can tell, there's still a little bit of a gap there. I'm going to come back and tighten it with the wrench, and possibly the drill if I have enough room to get in there. But we got it to sit on there. And so this is the back one. And we're going to still come back and do the front one and then tighten everything up. But as you can tell, there's the screws. I just hand tighten it for now. I'm going to come back with the wrench, get it tightened, and then we'll do the front one and get the entire frame put together. But it wasn't that difficult. We got it on there, got it to kind of line up. Really needed 3 people for this though, 1 on each side and 1 to kind of adjust the frame on the side. So if you're doing this at home and you're doing the larger one, I recommend 3 people if possible. All right, so as you can tell, we have the entire frame up behind us. I mean, I don't think we could have snugged this thing in any tighter in this space. And we got about, 2 inches on each side maybe to work with. And so it looks great. Looks like it was built into this space and should work quite well in here. But that's enough for one day. I think everybody's pretty tired. You guys tired?
Yep.
Just a bit.
So we'll be back to finish this up, hopefully in the latter part of this video. But we're going to call it a night for tonight. And we've just got the screen, the material, bungees, and some other stuff to pretty much finish up. And that's pretty much it. So I do think that there's some adjustments that can be made in this manual. I think everybody can agree to that, right?
Oh, yeah.
We can definitely make some steps to make that manual a little easier. Hopefully you guys have followed this video. But for the most part, we've got it done. Definitely not like a 2-hour process. I don't know what they claim this would be, but we're probably on 5 hours, I would guess, that we've been working on this. So it does take some time, and this is with 3 people. So just an honest review. We always do honest reviews here. That's what we do. Now, I think if we were to have built this again, we could probably do that in half the time knowing what we know now. So hopefully this video will help you guys at home. And again, this is the biggest version that they make. So if you're doing a smaller version, I think you'll still have the same set of small headaches, but you can work through that pretty easily and not have as much to deal with as we're doing here with the 16H. So if you have any questions on any part of this so far, let us know in the comment section, but we'll be back to finish up this second part of this video. And we're looking forward to seeing how everything ties together and showing you a little bit more about this in use and then doing some reviews on this as we continue to move forward here at Garage Golf. All right, so we're back. It's a new day here and we're ready to tackle the last remaining steps here. Hopefully, if we get through the rest of this video today. We are on step 4, which is anchoring the frame to the floor, which honestly I'm going to skip. I'm not going to actually do this step. I am building this into a pre-existing structure. It's tight in here. This thing's not going to move. This is not my floor to anchor into, and so I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to show you what they suggest you do. And these are the mounting tabs. It's like an L bracket. It's going to go on the outer edge of the frame, just like this. And you would basically attach it. And then there's 4 Tapcon screws. And so you had 4 Tapcon screws. It would go through and into your floor, which I'm assuming you would have to pre-drill for. This is a concrete floor underneath here. I'm not going to do it in this particular situation. But if you have something where this is freestanding, and again, I have this pretty tight in here, this thing's not going to move, you would want to make sure you secure this just because this is a heavy frame and you would want to make sure that this frame is not going to move on you, but this is not going anywhere. This thing is not moving in this particular space. So I want to make sure before we test this that this thing is not going anywhere, but in this particular step, I'm skipping this particular step here just because I don't have a way to actually drill into this concrete floor, but it is one thing that you would want to make that decision at home yourself. So we're skipping step 4, moving on to step 5. We are now on section 2, which is going to be the fabric panel. So we're ready to start putting this thing together and having this thing look like an actual enclosure now. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay the ceiling panel down on the floor, which we'll show you here in just a minute. And we're going to pre-insert ball bungees into each of the grommets of this panel. And then we're going to install ball bungees in each corner of the frame and then install the ball bungees on the frame sides only, leaving the back and the front unattached. So we'll take that next step and show you here on camera how we're going to do this. We'll speed through this a bit and show you how we're going to do it. And then we'll start working on getting this attached to the actual frame behind us. All right, so we're going to face this actual screen with the Velcro facing towards the hitting surface, which is Velcro down. So we're going to want the grommets towards the frame, towards the back. Now that we have this down, we're going to pre-insert a ball bungee, long ones, which are 10 in each grommet. These are 10-inch ball bungees that we're going to pre-insert into each grommet. We'll be able to attach it to the frame from there. Okay, and when we're pre-inserting them, we're just running it through the top, just running it right through the hole, and so just so we're ready to attach it to the frame, just like Gilbert did there. Let's show them one more on the camera, Gil. So we're just running it through the top and through the hole, and that's all we're doing. Perfect. Just getting them all ready so we can attach it to the frame. Just like that. All right, so now we have the bungees pre-installed, and now it says to install a bungee on each corner of the frame. And so we didn't know how to interpret that, but basically it just means, watching the video, we're just going to attach this material here to each corner individually of the frame itself, just to let it kind of free hang on there. And then we're just going to attach only the bungees that are on the sides for now. The back and the front will free hang on this step. So we're just going to attach each corner to get it up there, and then only the sides for now with the bungees. All right, step number 4 is we're going to apply cross-beam foam. There's 3 of these for the front, to the cross-beam closest to the golfer position, which is going to be this front beam here. And we're going to basically then pull the golfer edge of the ceiling panel over the crossbeam and then Velcro that to the ceiling panel. And then lastly, we're going to install the ball bungees along the rear edge, which is that back edge back there. So let's go ahead and install these. There's 3 of these that we're going to install along the front. And then we're going to attach the back bungees to the back frame back there. So let's get that done now. All right, so here is the foam across the crossbeam on the front. And obviously it doesn't cover the entire crossbeam, just the bottom, but you'll see that it's pretty good padding there. We're gonna basically wrap this around now and then it should Velcro around this and then back onto itself, it looks like. So we're gonna wrap this around this beam.
We're gonna go over the top.
And then back onto,
Gotta go over the top.
oh, we're gonna go back over the top and then underneath it. Yeah, so we're gonna wrap this over the beam and then it's gonna come back down and underneath. So we'll try to show that on camera now. All right, so we're grabbing this flap now. We're gonna wrap it over the beam. Gonna pull it. I'm gonna have to grab the excess on my side to get all the flap over here. Definitely a 2 or 3 person job, especially with this larger enclosure. All right, grab this entire thing. There we go. Pull all the slack, pull it down all the way. Okay, now wrap it under and then back. It needs to go tighter. There we go. We'll get it there eventually, but it still needs more slack. So we'll have to figure out how to get that extra slack. That's essentially the gist of how we're going to do that. So we'll bring you back once we can figure out how to pull the extra slack out of this. All right, so here is the entire flap. And here you see the excess little piece that's left. And so we found it easier from underneath the frame to pull it towards us and then just basically attach it from underneath. And so it was easier for us to get it that way. So that's how we're gonna finish this last little piece up. And then we're done with the step. We just need to attach the back bungees now. Okay, so we finish up with the fabric panel section. Now, one thing I forgot to mention in my previous section is there are some areas where there is a screen belt receiver. You need to make sure that you bring that screen belt receiver underneath the frame to where it's facing inside of the frame this way on each side. You don't want it on the outer part of the frame. Make sure you have that screen belt receiver underneath the frame facing inside of the frame itself on both sides, because we're going to use that for a later step. All right, so we are now on step 2. And this is going to be impact support membrane. We're going to bungee the top edge of the screen to the cross beam, as well as 2 bungees per side to the vertical post. And we're going to use an impact support membrane. And this is probably going to be to allow for extra protection against shots. So we're going to grab the impact support membrane, which is part number 25. And we're going to need 19 of the long ball bungees for this step. Now, all along the back edge, about 1 foot off of this back frame, is a whole entire strip of Velcro. That's going to be what we're attaching this impact support membrane to. And then I'm assuming we're going to then bungee it to the back support frame that we're looking at here. So we'll take a look and see how we do that. So for this step, there is a shiny side that has no Velcro on it, and then a duller side that has Velcro on it. We want to flip it because you're going to want the dull side facing you towards the camera side. It has Velcro on the front of it, and that's where the screen will later attach to that Velcro on that side. So we're going to flip this around, Gil. I'll go on this side, you can go on that side. And we're going to then attach it to that frame there. Go that way. So dull side towards the camera. You notice there's also 2 grommets here on this side. That's going to attach to the side beams here. The rest of the grommets will attach to the back frame. And I'm assuming in the same respect, we're probably going to want to preload these things with the bungees just like we did before, so it's easier to put on the back beam that we're looking at here. So we'll probably take that step and do that next. All right, so as you can see, we have the impact support membrane up behind us. Gilbert's just working on one last little thing in the corner. It's kind of hard to get that impact support membrane up when you already have that top piece. So we had a little, where the corner brackets are, we're trying to just secure it so it looks nice and clean. But it's all the way down to the floor. Kind of wish there was a couple more grommets along the side because there's only one on the top and one on the bottom. So it kind of free hangs in the middle. A couple more grommets would be nice to kind of secure that, but I'm assuming once you put the screen on, probably won't notice that. But just a little note at home. I do wish kind of there was a few more grommets along the side. That would be a nice feature, I feel. And it wouldn't probably cost much to add a few grommets to that piece. But other than that, looks really nice. I mean, I think it looks sharp. Everything looks nice and clean. And we're moving on to the side screens now, which I'm curious to see how we're going to do this part too. But basically we have number 29, which is the right side screen, which we have laying out on the floor. We have the bungees in already. And so what we're going to do, we laid the side screen down. We're going to thread the bungees through the grommets. We're going to attach it to the top of the upright. We're going to place the vertical piece foam on the front vertical post. So we got 4 more of those foam pieces that are going to go along each side to protect in case you hit an errant shot into it. And then we're going to wrap the side screens around the post, Velcroing it to itself. Now, not around the outside to the inside, which would be considerably easier. Unfortunately, no. We're going to have to wrap it from the inside to the outside to itself somehow. And as you can tell, we don't have much room. And so he didn't have much room in the video either, so we got to figure out how we're going to do this. But we'll see how this is going to work out. Got some fat fingers here, and hopefully we can make it work. I'm already feel like we're cut up and stuff from wrapping those bungees around. And I hate bungees in all honesty. Like, I think if I was going to redo this, I feel like I would just use zip ties if I knew that I had this done the right way. I like zip ties personally. I hate ball bungees. I just don't like them. Nothing against Sportscreen on that part, but to me, I'm a zip tie fan. I just like them a lot better, and I don't have to worry about trying to wrap a bungee around itself and snapping it on my finger. So that's just a personal preference. I do that with a lot of my things, and so just something that I would like to kind of share with you guys at home. But the ball bungees is not my personal favorite thing. So we're going to show you how we wrap this foam piece around the corner, and we'll do that at the very last piece. Let's move on to that next step. All right, so we have one side up, and
It's a work in progress.
it's a work in progress. I'm going to try something different, completely against what they say to do. I've put this entire other side down, folded a nice clean fold here at the bottom, and I'm going to try something completely against what they advise to do just because we don't have the room to reach our hands around this. It was hard to do the way that they suggested. Looks all wrinkled and not straight, and I'm pretty OCD with stuff. So I'm going to get this T-track, use this drill because we did mess up on this side and we did the same thing to adjust the frame. And so I'm going to completely take this front beam off the frame. We're going to get this pocket, and I'm going to slide it up the frame and then put it back together. So I'm going to try that, see how this works on this side just because I don't have the room, and then we'll attach it the way that they suggest. So probably against what they suggest, but when you don't have options, we're going to try something a little different. All right, so we got this side wrapped up. This is the right side of the cage, and I want to show you just a little bit of advice. When you start on this vinyl side here on the right side or the left side, make sure you start from the bottom, because at the bottom that has the Velcro. So we started at the top, worked our way down, and it didn't reach, so we had to undo it and redo it again. Start at the bottom because the bottom has the Velcro strip down there. So we attached it at the bottom and then tightened it on the sides and worked our way all the way up the top, as you see here. And so now we have that gap there at the top, which I'm assuming we'll cover up later here with another step, but that made it a whole lot easier, and it's nice and tight now. And so I did want to show you though on the other side too. I'll kind of show you here. I want to wrap this around and kind of show you the other side. We did this one the other day, and so I wanted to walk you through it. This is the other side, and I did this one the other day where I started on the bottom, and I think I'm going to go back and take it off on the top and lower it all the way down again, because if you notice, you actually see the frame down there. And what I did notice, if you look in the middle, it's kind of hard to see. I'm going to try to zoom in. Right in the middle, let's see if I can get that on camera. There's a screw there. And in the very back, along the edge of the frame, there's also a screw there. And so that's what's holding that adhesive Velcro onto the frame. So what happened was, I guess by the tightness of the bungees, it kind of came unattached to the frame, and so it separated from the frame. And so while the actual side vinyl is still attached to the basically the Velcro. The Velcro came unattached to the frame a little bit from that adhesive. So I'm gonna try to unattach it and then maybe use a couple screws and screw it into the frame just to make sure that it's lined up all the way along the bottom of the frame so you don't see the actual silver frame there at the bottom. But I'm gonna redo this side now. Take the top part off and I'll work my way from the bottom all the way up to the top again, going along the back edge here. And then we'll have this part done and ready to move on to that last step where I think we're gonna start hanging the screen last. All right, so we are back. Gilbert is now back home in San Antonio, and it's just me and Olivia here to finish up this entire project. But he pretty much helped us get the majority of what you see behind us done. So all we really have left, what, is hanging the screen? Yep, hanging the screen and then doing a couple of baffles, and we should pretty much be done with this whole thing. So what we're gonna do now is what is step 4, hanging the impact screen. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna Velcro that impact screen to the impact support membrane. The screen should have the vertical Velcro facing the golfer. And so we're gonna pull out that screen, set that up. Now make sure when you pull the screen out that your floor is clean. That's really important. You don't want any of that dirt on your floor to get on that screen. So we gotta make sure that your area that you're setting this on is clean. That's really, really important. So if you're following this video, make sure you do that at home. And then we're going to apply the ball bungees, the long ones, through the grommets onto the sides of the impact screen, wrapping around the vertical posts, which are the ones on the sides. And we're gonna pull the tail ends of the impact screen belting through the buckle, which are those 2 buckles that we talked about on the floor. They should be facing inwards. Now, one of them on mine, this one, actually comes out real nice and easy. The other one on this side is really, really tight. And so it's not coming out very much from that frame, if at all. So we might struggle a little bit. I'm sure every one of these is a little unique. And so we're gonna see if we can get that through there. Step 4 is going to apply ball bungee short through the lowest grommets on the impact screen. And step 5, through this entire process here, is the impact screen should have 2 to 3 inches of flop along the hitting surface towards the golfer. So let's see about going through these steps. And again, don't forget, you got your QR code. Now, the only thing I don't like, again, is with the QR code, they're not gonna have any audio walking you through these steps. So we'll do our best on this video to walk you through it step by step as we go. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with the thickness of the screen. It's definitely a pretty thick screen. Now, and again, we're gonna want this, there's a Velcro side.
This is the bottom.
That's the bottom there, okay. And so we're gonna want it going this way. Grab this side here, there you go. And we'll lay it out this way with the Velcro facing up towards the ceiling. Because that's the side that's gonna face the golfer. And then these are gonna be the straps that go through those buckles down in each corner. So we'll lay this out and we'll start the process of getting this up there on that support membrane. All right, so one clarification, the Velcro, there's Velcro on the top on both sides because you're gonna use both sides of that. When they said the Velcro facing the golfer, it says it in the book, I just missed it. It's the vertical Velcro that goes along the sides. That needs to face towards you. So when we're hanging the screen up, it's gonna go like this because the Velcro here will go along this way facing towards you as a golfer. Okay, so now I'm gonna start on the left side, work my way all the way across, and I'm just gonna Velcro this. There's a strip all the way across. It's gonna be hard to see on camera because it's dark, obviously. But there's a strip all the way across here that I'm gonna be attaching it to. So we'll start nice and slow and work our way all the way across. All right, so here's the strip that we're gonna be attaching to here. Here's a little string. And all I'm doing is getting the screen, and I'm just gonna follow that same line all the way across. And just put it nice and flush. It's a real easy line to follow as I go. And we're just gonna do this all the way across. Pretty simple. And then just follow this all the way across, and we'll bring you right back when we have it up and finished. All right, just because I keep things 100% real with everything I do here at Garage Golf, and I just wanna give it to you guys straight. They do not mention this in the video, and I wanted to make sure that you guys are aware if you're putting something together. In the video, they show I'm starting on one side of the screen like I did, and so I started all the way at the edge of the Velcro strip, like you see on this side, and just assuming, obviously, that when I got to the other side, it would cover the entire Velcro strip, which I thought would be the case. So you notice the gap here. There's literally not much gap, between where the screen is attached to that Velcro and where the black vinyl ends on the back piece. Well, when we get over to the other side and I follow that, all right, now we get over here and there's about a 4-inch gap. So they don't mention that the screen does not cover the entire vinyl strip or the entire Velcro strip. So now I got to take another step, take the entire screen down, start over, and come over about another 1.5 inches till it's equal on each side. Now there are side baffles, but I don't want to get to that part and then find out later that they're not good enough to cover, the gap on each side. And I'm pretty OCD, and I don't want a screen that's not centered, so that's really important to me. So I just thought I would share that with you guys so in case you're putting it together. All right, so we have the screen up behind us. I was able to get it centered as best as I could. Again, I'm pretty OCD, so sorry about that, but pretty much centered on both sides now. Took me a couple tries to do it. And so now we're gonna do the long bungees on the top and the short bungees on the bottom, and then we're able to move on to the next step. Pretty sure that they're gonna be covered for the most part on the sides, but I just wanted to double check and make sure before I finished up with that screen portion. All right, we've done the top bungees, and now we're the next step is to do this strap through this loop here. And as you can tell on this side, this is the left side if you're looking at the screen, this is as far as I could pull this out even before we put anything up. For whatever reason, this strap was not cut right. And so we had major issues getting it through and underneath. There's plenty of room on the other side. I'll show you on video. But on this side, major issues with room here. So I'm gonna try it. If not, I'll let Olivia try it. She has smaller hands than me. But we're basically trying to get this strap through that loop and then back onto this Velcro here. So that's the problem. All right, so we got it through the actual belt. We're gonna Velcro it down onto itself here, as we see. And then we're going to essentially tuck the excess back into the side of the screen here. It's not super tight, at least according to the video, not super tight. So that's pretty much all we're doing on each side. So even though there wasn't a ton of room there, we didn't need a lot of room. We just need to get it through that loop. And then now, in regards to the bungees that you see there, we should be able to bungee it now to the frame, which is the next step that we'll do. And we'll do it on the right side as well. And we have the screen part finished. All right, and this is the right side. And just so you can see the difference, you can tell that this entire buckle is completely out and available for me to access, which is nice. The other side, for whatever reason, I just couldn't get it to pull out like this, even when I pulled up the entire frame. So I'm just gonna wrap that strap through there, just like I did on the other side, and then we're pretty much done with this step. All right, so as you can see, the screen is up behind us. Everything's bungeed, everything's attached. Looks pretty good for the most part. We're gonna cover up any parts on the sides with baffles, most likely, so give it a nice clean border. So we're now on the baffles and the corner pieces, which is step 5. And so we have corner foam pieces. Well, there'll be 2 of them. We're gonna have one front baffle, one left side baffle, one right side baffle, and then 2 corner pieces. So to do the front baffle, which is gonna be our first step, we're going to apply the top edge of the front baffle with Velcro to the exposed Velcro near the back of the ceiling panel. And so along the edge here, about 1 foot along the edge, there is a Velcro strip. So we're gonna apply that to that strip there. And that's going to cover up the top part along that part there. And so I will walk you through that as we go. And then we're going to apply the bottom edge Velcro of the front baffle to the exposed Velcro on the impact screen. So there's a whole strip of white Velcro on the screen and a strip of black Velcro along the vinyl on the top. And we're gonna basically just attach those together. So it should be a pretty simple application. So let's walk you through that step next. All right, so here's the baffle attached to the ceiling. So I'm trying to get you as best light as I can. Here, it's kind of dark. And attached to the screen. And there it is all the way across. I'll walk you down here. All the way across. I did try to get it as perfect as I could on the sides. You're gonna see it's a little bit off on one side than the other. And you kind of see it, how it hangs down a bit. Assuming that's to protect that cross beam from getting hit with a golf ball directly. And there's gonna be another baffle that goes here on the side, and that's gonna cover that gap anyway. So we're gonna do that step next. It gives it a nice clean seam there that goes right across the screen where the actual Velcro was on the screen itself. Next step are the corner pieces, and we're going to apply the long vertical edges of the corner piece, which is number 32, with Velcro to the exposed Velcro on the impact screen. It's going to be along the edges. And then from top to bottom, reference figure number 26, which is in your manual. We're going to apply the Velcro on the corner piece to the exposed Velcro on the left side screen, which is going to be here along the edge, across the side going horizontally. And then note the horizontal Velcro on the corner piece should align with the exposed horizontal Velcro on the left side screen. And so there is a horizontal Velcro strip on this one, and that's how you're going to line up the height. You're going to line it up exactly with the strip that is on the side of the vinyl piece here on each side. And so that'll give you an idea on where to put it height-wise in regards to the placement. All right, so here is the horizontal Velcro that is on the side that we need to line up that strip that I showed you with. So that's how we're going to determine the height, and that's what we're going to attach that to. And then here is the vertical Velcro on the screen that we'll attach the other side of it to. So we're going to line those two up right now. That's going to cover this frame here in the corner and protect it from any golf ball shots as well. All right, so we got one side down, as you can tell. Gives it a nice clean look. One little bit of feedback is because it is more of a vinyl material, not like a carpet material like some other enclosures, it does somewhat limit you to where you can attach the actual corner piece here to the screen. And the screen, as you can tell before, it's tighter in some areas to the frame than it is on another area. So it does make it somewhat difficult to line up straight. So I wouldn't say it's 100% straight, at least right now. I'm pretty OCD. I might change this somehow later, maybe even add like an adhesive strip of loop Velcro to it or something that I could then attach and re-straighten this strip a little bit. But we're talking little nitpicky stuff, but just things that I noticed, just so you know. But overall, nice clean look. A little long on the bottom, but I might tuck that in underneath when I'm done with things. But gives it a nice clean look, just so you're aware. There's some wrinkles in the screen, obviously, but I've never used a steamer with my setups. Over time, they tend to go away. So I'm going to leave it for a while anyways, and just see if those wrinkles will come out naturally over time. We're going to do the right side now next. All right, so the corner pieces are done now. We're now moving on to the side baffles, in which we're going to apply the Velcro on the top edge of the side baffle to the exposed Velcro on the ceiling panel. So in the same respect, there's a strip that goes horizontally across each side here. One there, one here. There's also going to be a Velcro strip on either side of this. So just like we did that back baffle and attached to the screen, we're going to do the same concept here and attach this along each side. And what that's going to do is cover up that exposed frame along each edge that you see up there, which hopefully you guys can see on camera. If not, I'm going to show you on the other camera. But it's just going to give it that nice black border all the way around so you don't see any of the metal framing. And we're pretty much almost done here, guys. We pretty much got this step, and we have the two front baffles, which part of it's going to be our front corner pieces, which part of it's covered. You might not even be able to see it because of what I had in here before. But we're going to cover up any kind of exposed metal framing. And so pretty close. All right, so we got to do this part, and we'll get that attached. Just pretty much everything Velcro in this step. Pretty easy. Walk you through that really quick. But same concept as we did that back baffle. Let's walk you through that now. All right, so this is the corner piece, and this is really not explained on the video or in the book at all. So I wanted to show it to you. And Olivia figured this out because she's more crafty than me, and I just wanted to shove it in there and have it look nice. Or, you know, just shove it in there because I'm getting tired at this point. But if you notice, there's a square on each one of these. And so what she did was she laid it flat, and there's a corner piece that you'll see kind of right there. And I'm going to try to show you on camera as best as I can, but it's hard with the light because I'm in a dark corner here. But here's the corner piece. So what she did is she laid it flat here, and she kind of she squared it off. Here's the square. Here's the corner piece, and she shoved it in here, and then we attached it to the Velcro along the ceiling part up here that you see. And so we kind of got it as best we could here in the corner. This part of the design is a little wonky to me. Could be probably a little bit better, in all honesty, but it is what it is, you know, so we got to make it work. But it fits in the corner, and then we're going to finish lining up the Velcro along the sides. And so here's where we're at with it. We got the Velcro there, and we got the Velcro up here, all the way to the edge of the frame. So we're just going to finish it up now, attaching this all the way across. And that should be it for the side piece to cover up that gap there. All right, so we finish up that corner pieces now. We're down to the very, very last step, which is the corner foam pieces, which we see here. This is going to cover the last 2 pieces of exposed aluminum extrusion, and they're just little foam pieces that will attach via adhesive. And then we're pretty much done with the Parlour 16H here. So we'll take care of that really quick and bring you right back. Corner foam pieces are up, and we are pretty much wrapped up with this enclosure. As an added bonus, for those of you who get the Parlour enclosures, at least at the time of this video, you actually get a cool little bonus from Sportscreen, which is a very neat little ball washing and club washing station. So this is really, really cool. I'm not going to put it up for today's video, just so you know, because I thought I was going to attach to the frame somehow, which would be a really cool idea down the road, but I think it's going to be like a wall-mounted thing. So I'll do it in a later video and kind of show you. But really cool idea from Sportscreen, because nobody else really has this idea. And so one thing for you at home, and part of the screen maintenance that you want to know, never use dirty clubs on your screen, never use marked golf balls on your screen, never use dirty golf balls on your screen. When your friends come over and they want to play around the golf, make them wipe their clubs down or make them clean their clubs and then dry those clubs. Any of that dirt on that golf ball or any of that mud on that golf ball or club will transfer to that golf ball and then onto that screen. So to prolong the life of your screen, including this nice screen we see behind us, which we'll be doing a lot of testing on down the road, make sure you use clean golf balls that you only use indoors and clean golf clubs. That is an absolute must. So really, really cool idea from Sportscreen. All right, good job, Olivia. Lots of work. Took us 3 different days to build this thing out. Pretty tough, so good job. Way to go. Knuckles are a bit beat up. I hate ball bungees. I just don't like them, and so I definitely don't like that part about it. But I think it came out pretty good. I'm looking forward to doing some testing. This thing is massive. Lots of testing going on. I will tell you the one thing I absolutely do not like, and so this is something for Sportscreen, and we're all about honest input. There's always room for improvement with anything. Those corner pieces were a real pain in the butt to put up there. No instructions. I kind of had to shove it in there, do a little bit of modifications to kind of make it work. I think there could be a better design on how those pieces go in the corner. Just my own personal opinion. It's not as easy as they make it look, like on the video, and skip through that. So we did our best. I think it came out pretty good. It's dark, you can't really see it anyways, but I just think it could be an easier design. Even a flat piece would have just fit in there so much easier, I think, right?
Yeah, great.
It was hard to get that corner piece in there. But other than that, it looks good. I'm very curious to see how the screen holds up over time, of course, in relation to other enclosures that we've tested. As you know, we have a couple of different ones in our facility, so I'm looking forward to doing some reviews, testing it out. So keep an eye out for a future review on the Parlour 16H, and we'll be using it in a lot of videos moving forward to test out different things on it. Let me know if you have any questions at home. I look forward to answering those for you. Hopefully you enjoyed this installation video, and hopefully it answers a lot of your questions and fixes a whole lot of kind of things problem-wise that maybe you'll go through as you build something like this out, because I know we had a lot of little hiccups as we went through that process. So it's always nice to have step-by-step instructions with audio. Always nice to have audio, someone walking you through those steps, and also someone who's in your shoes kind of experiencing those problems for the first time. That's something I would like if I was building something out the first time, and just having someone, you know, shoot through it really quick, no audio, no step-by-step guide on it. It kind of left us with a lot of questions, I felt, right?
Yeah.
So always room for improvement, but overall quality, I think it looks pretty awesome. I am curious on the screen. I want to see how it does compared to some others that we've tested. So we'll keep an eye out for that, but hopefully you enjoyed the installation video, and we will be back at you with another video. Hopefully we'll get a lot more content out here in the near future. As always, thanks again for hanging out with us, and until the next time, keep on golfing. Thanks again.